perfect. But I think sometimes, whether it's pride or just this culture we're in, we feel like we just can't be honest. We can't be honest with our spouse, maybe how we're feeling with. We definitely can't be honest with God because it just almost feels wrong. But, if you look in the Bible, Psalms is a great example, and David is a great example of someone who David was considered a man after God's own heart. Okay, so everybody's like, oh, we want to be like David. But if you read through the Psalms and really read through them and realize the things that he said to God, you're almost like, oh, I can't believe this is in the Bible. He just was brutally honest. And I think there's something to learn there that it's okay to be disillusioned. It's okay to even be mad at God. Sometimes to say that out loud, people cringe. I share a lot of stuff on, social media, and I've shared, just being honest about seasons, not now, but seasons in the past where I was angry at God, especially when our second son was also diagnosed with severe autism. I just thought, really? God, really? And I've had people comment well, I've never been angry at God, or how could you be angry at God? And it's just part of us doesn't want to, how dare we admit, because it just feels wrong. But God's not afraid of our emotions. He actually wants us to have an honest heart.
Yes.
It's it's the one thing he requires. We all are broken. We don't have anything to offer in and of ourselves. But if we can come to God in sincerity and with an honest heart, he always meets us there.
Yeah, see, sometimes I think Christianity has gotten this messed up where we put on this good show. We're looking at what it looks like to be a Christian, right? Mm-hmm. How do we follow Christ? And sometimes the standard of which we know God is calling us to seems so far away. So instead of actually allowing God to process us to that standard,
that's good,
we just fake it. We try to look right on the outside.
What is that? Fake it till you make it? Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. In our culture, right? Look at our culture, the social media, everything revolves around putting your best foot forward, right? How many of us take selfies and it's we take 5, 6, 7 selfies trying to get that perfect lighting and perfect angle because we're always trying to look a certain way.
Right.
And if we approach life and parenting that way, especially in the hard times where you can't be honest first with God, God, I am struggling. I am having a difficult time. I don't understand. I can't tell you how many times I just simply pray that prayer. Jesus, I don't get it. I don't get what's happening right now.
Right.
I love that story of the father in the Bible, right, with the epileptic child, and the disciples try to pray for him to get healed, and then Jesus comes on the scene, and this whole belief thing comes to it, and he just says, well, I believe, but help my unbelief. There's this honesty of just putting it out there. This is how I feel. I don't get it, but help me in the I don't get it.
Yeah, that's so good.
One of the Psalms that we just love when we think about putting our heart out there and really bearing, what you're feeling like in your hard times before God is Psalm 22. So, this is a Psalm of David, and he's writing, this is what he says, my God, why have you abandoned me? Why are you so far away when I groan for help? Every day I call to you, my God, but you do not answer. Every night you hear my voice, but I find no relief. Now, sometimes we read the Bible and I think we think that everything that's put in here is some sort of perfect truth. This isn't a truth. This is just the gut-wrenching feelings of a man who's in desperation. David's in desperation at this moment, and he feels like God's abandoned him. Now, God hasn't abandoned him, but this is what he feels like, and he's just saying it. God, what happened to you? Where did you go? And I'll tell you what, if anything's true for me in my hard times, this is the feeling I have. It's my go-to. I know, here, I'm a pastor. We're both pastors. We're supposed to be super spiritual, right? Have our act all together. But when things go really hard, the first thing I feel like is, where are you, God?
Right.
And being able to say that and even voice that is actually healthy. Because I'll tell you what, you ask that, and God will tell you where he is. Yeah. Often, I just get a wake-up call, and he's like, I'm right here. The truth is, where did you go? Mm-hmm. That's often what the issue is. So listen, be honest with God, then be honest with yourself and others. That is one of the biggest steps we have to get through. What are you actually struggling with? instead of just putting on kind of this facade
Right.
to get through.
Right. And I think sometimes like we feel like we have to put the facade on because there's that thought that says God's not going to give you more than you can handle. So you
Right.
have to
It's
keep
a
it
complete
all
lie.
together and look like you got it all together because you don't want somebody to think you're overwhelmed. But like that is not even a verse in the Bible. If anyone's ever said that to you, I mean, so
I've
many
preached
people
many
have
messages
said this
actually
to me.
on this.
Yes, it's like infuriating. Like someone will say, it's okay. I know, I mean, I spent 8 years almost where I couldn't leave my house because of the severe behaviors of my 2 kids on the spectrum. The last thing I want to hear is God's not going to give me more than I can handle. It's not true. It's not biblical,
All that ends up doing is making you feel like because you can't handle it, right? We there's this real honesty.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't handle this situation. And then someone says, "Oh, God won't give you more than you can handle." And I know it's trying to be an encouragement, but mostly on the inside you just go, "Well, then there's something wrong with me."
Something wrong with me.
Because I can't handle this.
Right. And I'm failing as a mom or I'm failing as a parent. I'm failing as a Christian,
Yeah.
But the truth is God actually does give us
He
more than he can
absolutely
handle.
gives you more than you can handle. The scripture that people are using, just so you know, it's from 1 Corinthians 10, and it's actually about temptation, and it says God will never allow temptation to be more than you can handle. And he's saying that you have an out when life comes and tempts you in a way, and he's talking about sin in this situation, that you're going to be able to
Right.
overcome the temptation to leave. But then we somehow have generalized that statement to be like, oh, God will never give you more than handle. I'm like, looking at the Bible, you look from the beginning all the way to the end,
Right.
and in fact, God always gives people more than they can handle so that they have to have faith in him.
Yes.
So then we lean on a God that we need,
Exactly.
a God that I mean, sin is more than we can handle immediately. So that's why we need Jesus. The idea of thinking that life isn't going to present more than you can handle is just a silly notion and definitely not biblical.
Right. And at the end of the day, he does this. He allows us to be in this situation because it's the only way he can move us from a place of self-reliance, right, to God dependence. It's the only way. He's got to push us forward in it. And so as hard as it is, none of us like it. In this world, we will have trials, right? But we just have to realize God's in it. He's with us. He wants us to be honest about it. And he's moving us to this place where we learn to depend on him.